Okay, this is 5.4 notes, dividing polynomials by long division. So long division is something that you guys learned maybe 4th, 5th grade, just using numbers. So we're going to go back and look at that first. We're going to review long division only using numbers. So this says 480 divided by 5. So we have 480 divided by 5. And let me change the size of that, it's kind of large. So what we're going to do first is we're going to see, can 5 go into 4? Nope. So then we check the next one. Can 5 go into 48? Yes. 5 can go into 48 9 times. Okay. 9 times 5 is 45. We change the sign, subtract down. 48 minus 45 is 3. I bring down the 0. Okay, now I look at, can 5 go into 30? Yep, 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Change the sign, subtract down, and I get 0. So that means my answer here is 96. Okay. Let's do the same thing here, but now on this one, we're going to get a remainder. So I have 428 divided by 5. Checking the same thing. Can 5 go into 4? Nope. Can 5 go into 42? Yeah, it can go in 8 times and we get 40. We change the sign, subtract down. 42 minus 40 is 2. Bring down the 8. We have 28. Now we go again. How many times can 5 go into 28? Well, it can go in 5 times to get 25. Change the sign, subtract, and we get 3. Okay. Now notice here, can 5 go into 3? No. 5 cannot go into 3, so that means we have a remainder of 3. Okay. So what we do with the remainder is we take our number 85 and we add our remainder 3 and divide it by what we're dividing by, 5. Okay, again, this 3 went up here and this 5 came from over here. Okay, so this is the same as saying 85 plus 3/5, or in other words, 85.6. The reason I'm showing it this way is because when we're going to look at polynomials, when we have a remainder, we're going to have variables in that, meaning we couldn't just type that into the calculator to get our decimal answer. So let's look at how we set up polynomials with long division. Okay, so most of them are going to look like a fraction. Wherever our numerator is, that's the one we're dividing into. So that's going to go into the division bar. And then our denominator is going to go on the outside. So if we do this, x squared plus 2x minus 7 divided by x minus 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're looking at our first term x and seeing if it can go into x squared. Well, x times x gives me x squared, so then I'm going to take this x and multiply it by the x and the negative 2 and then write it here. So x times x is x squared, x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Before I add down, I change the signs of each of them and then add down. The x squares cancel, and I'm left with 4x, bring down the minus 7. Now I look here. How many times can x go into 4x? Well, 4 times x gives us 4x. So I'm going to write 4x, and then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Before I add down, I change the signs. The x's cancel out, and I'm left with a remainder of 1. Remember, with those remainders, I added up to my original number, turning it into a fraction, 1 over x minus 2, meaning this whole thing here is my answer. Let's look at some more examples. And this here is just telling you in words what I'm doing, okay? Okay, so let's set up this one. We have x squared minus x minus 30 being divided by x minus 6. Well, x can go into x squared, x times. So I have x squared minus 6x. Change my signs, cancels out the x squared, add down, negative x plus 6x is 5x, bring down the minus 30. Now, how do I get x to make 5x? Well, I multiply it by 5. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. Well, I change the signs and then add down. Notice both of them now cancel out and I have a remainder of 0, meaning my answer is x plus 5. Okay, number 2. So we're going to take 6x cubed plus 5x squared plus 15 and divide it by 2x plus 3. So first we need to see what can we multiply 2x by to get 6x cubed. Well, we can multiply that by 3x squared. So I have 6x cubed, and then I have to multiply that 3x squared by 3, so plus 9x squared. Then I have to change the signs. My x cubes cancel, and I'm left with negative 4x squared, bring down the plus 15. Then I have to do, what can I multiply 2x by to get negative 4x squared? Well, I can multiply that by a negative 2x. So I get negative 4x squared minus 6x. Change the signs to positive. The x squareds cancel. And then notice I have 6x and 15. Well, they're not like terms, so I'm just going to write this 6x plus 15. Now, what can I multiply 2x by to get 6x? Well, I can multiply it by 3. So I get 6x plus 9. Change the signs. The x's cancel out, and I am left with 15 minus 9, which is 6. 6 is my remainder, so I'm going to add it up here as 6 over 2x plus 3. That is my answer. Okay, number 3. I'm going to write 2x to the 4th plus 3x cubed plus 5x minus 1. And I'm going to divide it by x squared plus 3x plus 2. So first, I need to see what do I need to multiply x squared by to get 2x to the 4th. Well, I would multiply it by 2x squared. And then I take that 2x squared and I multiply it to every term on the outside. So I get 2x to the 4th plus 6x cubed plus 4x squared. Change the signs of all of them. The x to the 4ths cancel, and I'm left with negative 3x cubed minus 4x squared, because there's nothing to combine with, plus 5x minus 1. Okay. Now, what can I multiply x squared by to get negative 3x cubed? Well, I can multiply it by negative 3x. So I get negative 3x cubed minus 9x minus 6x. Change the signs. The x cubes cancel. I'm left with 5. Oh, did I forget the square? Yep, I forgot the square there. I'm left with 5x squared plus 11x minus 1. Now, what can I multiply x squared by to get 5x squared? Well, I can multiply it by 5. Okay. So then I have 5x squared plus 15x plus 10. Change the signs. My x squareds cancel out. I'm now left with negative 26x. Right? Did I do that one right? 15, 11, yep. Negative 26x minus 11. And notice I can't multiply my x squared by anything to get a negative 26x. So that's my remainder. So I say plus negative 26x minus 11 all over x squared plus 3x plus 2. That's my answer, this whole thing. Okay, example 4. I have x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 8, all divided by x minus 1. Well, what can I multiply x by to get x cubed? That's x squared. So I have x squared minus x squared, x cubed. X cubed. Change my signs. And notice that both the x cubed and the x squared canceled, so I bring down negative 2x plus 8. Well, I can multiply that by a negative 2 to get negative 2x plus 2. Change the signs. My x's cancel, and I'm left with 8 minus 2, which is 6. X cannot go into 6, so that is my remainder, plus 6 over x minus 1. This whole thing is my answer. Number 5. Number 5, I have negative x cubed plus 4x squared plus 9, all divided by x minus 3. Well, x can go into negative x cubed, negative x squared times. So I have negative x cubed plus 3x squared. Change the signs. My x cubes cancel out, and I am left with just x squared plus 9. I can multiply that by an x to get x squared minus 3x. Change the signs. My x squareds cancel, and I'm left with 3x plus 9. Then I can multiply this by a 3, and I get 3x minus 9. Change my signs. My x's cancel out, and I'm left with 9 plus 9, which is 18. 18 is now my remainder, so I write 18 over x minus 3. That's my answer. Number 6, I have 3x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 2x squared plus 2x minus 5, all divided by x plus 1. Well, I can multiply that by 3x cubed to get 3x to the 4th plus 3x cubed. Change the signs. The 4's cancel out. X cubed minus 3x cubed is negative 2x cubed. Bring everything else down. Okay. Now I can multiply this by negative 2x squared to get negative 2x cubed minus 2x squared. Change the signs, and the cubes and the squareds cancel out, and I'm left with 2x minus 5. Well, I can multiply that by a positive 2 to get 2x plus 2. Change the signs. My x's cancel out, and I am left with negative 5 minus 2, which is negative 7. So that means that's my remainder, so I'm going to add negative 7 over x plus 1. That's my answer. Okay, last one, number 7. I have x cubed minus 3x squared minus 7x plus 7 plus 6 divided by x minus 2. I can multiply this by x squared. And I have x cubed minus 2x squared. Change the signs. The cubes cancel out, and I am left with negative x squared minus 7x plus 6, bringing everything down. I can now multiply this by a negative x to get negative x squared plus 2x. Change my signs. The squares cancel out, and I'm left with negative 9x plus 6. Multiply this by negative 9, and I get negative 9x plus 18. Change the signs. My x's cancel out, and I am left with 6 minus 18, which is negative 12. X cannot go into negative 12, so that is my remainder, plus negative 12 over x minus 2. That's my answer.